Glad to be here. Dimitri.
Let's try that again. Good afternoon, Kalimera. When Dimitris was putting this together, I said, why don't we talk about the new thing that ASHRAE created, which is the Center of Excellence for Indoor Environmental Quality. So it was established February 1st, 2026. Bill McQuaid, who is the current ASHRAE president, his presidential theme is Healthy Buildings Designing for Life. So the whole premise of this is we have a Center of Excellence for Building Decarbonization. IEQ and Building Decarb should be on the same playing field. That's why this was created. And normally, ASHRAE creates things based on the ASHRAE calendar year, which is July 1st to June 30th. But Bill thought it was important to have it implemented, get it going now so that we can hit the road running come July 1. So, why is it important? Humans spend roughly 90% of their time indoors. Our population is aging. We've seen the climate stressors. We've seen the extreme weather. We've seen a lot of flooding. We've seen forest fires. And the rising healthcare costs makes it more of a driver to have good, accessible IEQ guidance. ASHRAE on our IEQ standard 62.1, 62.2, we've been a leader since the 1890s, setting minimum ventilation rates. But we have to go beyond what is just IEQ. And the whole thing is ASHRAE wants to maintain a leadership position. Now, 9 key factors on indoor environmental quality. So everybody knows IEQ, or probably knows the concept. But what about water? Commissioning, thermal comfort, key economic and justification factors, microbiomes, acoustics, lighting, and the assessment. So it's taking a more holistic approach to make sure that we have everything covered in terms of the indoor environment. Why do we need a new standing committee? When the building decarbonization started, we have 2 of the original co-chairs of the task force for building decarbonization, Tom and Don there. That was only a temporary committee. We created the Center of Excellence for Building Decarbonization so that it's a standing committee within ASHRAE that reports to the executive committee of the board of directors. So we wanted to do the same thing for IEQ. IEQ is part of the current strategic plan, which is from 2025 to 2028. So it does make sense that it is part of our strategic plan of what ASHRAE sees, that it has to have the same level of priority as building decarbonization. ASHRAE has the technical expertise. We have the Standard 241 chair right here. It's a lot of experience within ASHRAE that we have what we need to move forward. But ASHRAE cannot do it alone. We do have to use other partners out there to make sure that everything is covered. And the same is true with building decarbonization. It's a huge thing to tackle. You need partners. So you'll see on here, USGBC, the International Well Institute, AIHA, SIPSI, ASHE, and other ones. As this Center of Excellence move forward, they're going to be looking for more partners that we can work together to make this a better world. So how do we get here? We looked at the current structure. We looked at how the IEQ responsibilities are currently distributed and saw that there's no single body that's setting the strategic priorities. As with the Center of Building Decarbonization, it is now a more strategic thing, and you want people within the current ASHRAE structure to actually get all the work done. We want visibility and authority on indoor environmental quality. We want to make sure that we have external impact as well as making sure that we have the drive for internal alignment. ASHRAE has the expertise. Everybody's familiar with ASHRAE 90.1, our energy standard, ASHRAE 62, our indoor air quality standard. We have to make sure that we can now include IEQ in all of that. So, we do have an environmental health committee, and there's actually some members in the room here. I know Dimitri's part of it, and John is on EHC. So, what we want EHC to do moving forward is a trends and gap report to develop the policy documents as needed and suggested by CEIQ. Remember, they're going to be the strategic part that's going to ask other people to get things done. Develop the position documents. Manage the ASHRAE Journal IEQ column, and you saw that John published something in the IEQ column there. Maintain the handbook chapter of the fundamentals on environmental health. Propose conference programs. We had an IEQ conference in Montreal in the fall of this year, or fall of last year, which was a big success. And the plan is to move that going forward. Update the website. Things are changing rapidly within the world. I can tell you on the CBD website, things are updated very regularly, and the plan will be for the CEIQ to do the same thing. Administer the EHC award. So there is an award for environmental health, so to make sure that that continues moving forward. Any policy briefs to make sure that they're communicated properly. A review RTAR, so that's the research administration request to make sure that's done. Interface with standard 241 and assign position documents. Now, for the Center of Excellence with IEQ, develop a roadmap and strategic plan. Much like what the building decarbonization is, they're currently working on a roadmap to 2050, but have steps for what they want to achieve by 2030 and 2040. Recommend any new activities, any new products, future challenges, etc. Recommend what policy documents. Prioritize the IEQ research topics. Expedite the education resources and review courses. I can tell you part of my responsibilities on the board is I'm the liaison with the Training and Education Committee. So we actually have a call every month currently with the CBD to make sure that we're aligned and we're going to have the training and the resources when they need it. The same will be true for the IEQ. Coordinating with those external organizations, very important. And working with the CBD. See what lessons they've learned to make sure that we can learn from that and do things right the first time. Functional groups will be influenced only by the strategic guidance from the CEIQ. So their titles and responsibilities don't change, it's just they're going to be asked. Other groups have no detailed responsibility changes. The transition is mainly from environmental health to this new Center of Excellence. Okay, so we're going to talk about the structure, responsibilities, project priorities, and success indicators. So, here's the organizational structure. We'll have a chair and vice chair. We'll have 2 voting members outside of the US and Canada. It's very important that we have global representation to see what's going on around the world, to make sure that we're covering all the bases. 2 voting representatives from major stakeholder organizations or health officials that have IEQ expertise. Again, it's outside ASHRAE's core, but we want to make sure that we have that input to make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction. We want to make sure we have a past chair of the Environmental Health Committee, and we also want a current member of the the EHC as part of that. What they did with CBD, and this will continue with the IEQ Center of Excellence is you're going to have a liaison for each council. ASHRAE is broken up into 3 councils. We have the Publication and Education and Training, we have Members Council, and we have our Technology Council. So working with those 3 councils to make sure everything works together. We'll also have a liaison from the CBD and vice versa, and those additional outside organizations, trying to make sure everything is aligned that we can move forward. Strategy. We want to provide that strategic direction. We want to make sure that we have thoughtful leadership, make sure we're covering all those emerging issues and doing stuff in a timely manner. We want to make sure we have collaboration with especially all those outside organizations. And we want to make sure that there's public policy, advocacy, and outreach to make sure that we're covering everything that is required. So, the project priorities is to develop that IEQ roadmap. We want to have it at society level that's going to frame what the priorities are, what the milestones are, and what the advocacy messaging is going to be. We want to expedite the development of the IEQ standard. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We want to harmonize IEQ across the society. Much like what was done with the CBD, where carbon is now across all sectors, we want to make sure that IEQ is part of that discussion. Facilitate and expedite education resources. That's where the training and education group will come into play. And what they did with CBD, and that will continue with the IEQ, is to make sure, in order to get things out to market more quickly, we will try and use external sources if we need to, rather than doing it by ASHRAE to help speed up the process. And we want to assist and coordinate all IEQ activities. So, for year 1 success, get well into the expedited IEQ standard. Want to have a 1-pager with an IEQ roadmap as to the direction ASHRAE wants to go. A harmonized guidance is going to be adapted. And we want to have an IEQ level 1 course. Level 1 in development. Want to get that out to the members because there's a huge need. We've seen a requirement to make sure that that members can be trained. So the new IEQ standard, that's standard 235P. The P stands for proposed. So we have the IEQ standard. It's going further and incorporating a lot of those factors that are already done. But it's a comprehensive framework for evaluating and supporting acceptable IEQ in buildings. They're going to address multiple environmental factors: air quality, thermal conditions, lighting, acoustic, and building, and system characteristics that influence occupant health, well-being, and performance. There was a call out for members that is closed, and work will begin shortly. So what's the next step? There was a strategic planning session that was held in Washington, D.C. earlier in May, and they held it in conjunction with the Building Decarb, which I think is great. They've got the synergies between the two, making sure everybody is working forward so that we're going to make this a better world. They looked at their priorities, the lessons learned, and how everybody can work together. They will provide an update at the upcoming annual meeting in Austin, Texas, which is happening at the end of June. The one thing I want to point you out to, because this is out there now, is there's a lot of infectious control resources that are on the ASHRAE website now. If you go to ashrae.org/IEQ resources, it's going to be your source for guidance, standards, and resources to help reduce the risk of airborne infectious disease transmission in buildings. The website will be updated as things becomes available, so I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's happening. And that's what I had. I'm happy to entertain any questions.